Yo, what's up? And welcome to Q&A, the show where I take your questions and answer them here in video format. I took questions from YouTube and Twitter this week, and I wasn't disappointed. These are actually some really good questions. I'm actually really excited to get into it, except for this first question, which is from my guy, Dr. Magi, who says, hey, let's talk basketball. Just this once. Football questions get repetitive during the offseason. Cavs pick third. Who you got, Q? I don't know what's happened this week, but I've been watching a lot of the NBA playoffs, and I've been enjoying it. These have been some great games going on. They got the live audience back. It's real fun to watch. And while I'm enjoying watching this basketball, it just washes over me how much I despise the ownership situation of the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. Hey, look, you have your opinions about Dan Gilbert, whether you like Dan Gilbert or not. I am so tired of Dan Gilbert at this point. I understand he spends more money on one player than the Cleveland Indians spend on the entire payroll, and that buys him a lot of leeway in this city. Also, he happened to be the owner of a team that won a championship in Cleveland. And, I wouldn't normally be that dismissive of a owner's credit to a team's champion, but like when LeBron was here, it was literally required from Dan Gilbert to just go somewhere else during the basketball season. So that's why I don't give him that much credit. He didn't have that much say-so when LeBron was here, and that ended up being for the better. Sorry if I sound a little cynical talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, but, it's dawned on me recently they've not won more than I think 30 games without LeBron in the Dan Gilbert era. They just haven't been good, and I think the common factor has been Dan Gilbert's leadership, and I just don't think he's been good. We can run through the list of terrible moves, bad decisions. We had James Jones on this roster at one point and David Griffin, two former executives of the year, but somehow the GM of this team is Kobe Altman. Tyronn Lue looks great, coaching pretty much like five guys plus Paul George and everybody else. They got DeMarcus Cousins' carcass out there in the Western Conference Finals, and we don't got Tyronn Lue, Jordan Clarkson. Name the players you want to name that look great, that used to be in Cleveland, while we're watching Kevin Love not want to play basketball every night. So, forgive me if I'm a little cynical about the Cavs and what they're going to do with this third overall pick, because, I just don't think they're going to be able to develop that player properly, or they're going to be patient enough to develop the player properly. That being said, Jalen Green would be a big pick. Jonathan Kuminga is actually somebody who, look, conventionally, you're going to take some slack if you take him at 3, because he is not the guy that everybody knows, like Jalen Green, who was a top 5 or the number 1 prospect of his class. Both of those players were in that G League Ignite roster, and I know I'm a nerd about sports. I actually watched a good chunk of that season. I really like Jonathan Kuminga's game. I think he can offer a lot, but, he's a developmental piece, and Cavs have been don't have the greatest track record when it comes to developing raw prospects into what they can become. But I do like Jonathan Kuminga. I understand if you go Jalen Green there too, because it seems like a pretty good decision. I think those G League guys on that roster, especially those two main ones, are going to go a lot higher than most people expect, simply because I think they played really well given the circumstances that they are playing under and given the talent level that you're playing against in the G League. I think they really did well for themselves. We look at LaMelo, how he came out, played really well in his first year after having experience with professionals overseas. I think it can be the same thing with a Jalen Green, but more likely I think he's going to be, while he's raw and he's going to take a while to fully form into what he's going to be long term, I think you can get immediate production out of Jonathan Kuminga. So those are the two that I'm looking at that I like a lot. But sorry I'm so cynical about the Cavs, but I'm not going to get myself wrapped up in that one. The next question comes from Legit, who says, in a hypothetical situation where the Browns defense have fully unlocked their potential week 1, do you think they are quick and athletic enough to stop the Chiefs and at least neutralize them? Yes, if this team is clicking and everything is up to the max, there's no defense or no offense in the world I think this team couldn't play up with, or at least slow down a little bit. Yeah. If they are, if they were hypothetically ready to go and playing up to their full potential week 1, yeah, they definitely could do something against the Chiefs. The next question comes from Trey Ball, who says, since the NFL is allowing teams to add an alternate helmet this year, which throwback helmet would you like to see? The Browns have no good alternate helmets. Like, I hate all their, like the one with the numbers on it, I think looks pretty lame. I don't want to see the Browns out here with white helmets. I hate the all white to begin with. Like I've never seen a Browns team look good and play good in all white. Like they always have their most embarrassing moment in that all white uniform. We don't need to add an all white helmet to that. So I'm off on that. Maybe if you want to switch around the face mask color, if you bring out a throwback, a 1980s throwback or something, legitimately all you would have to do is wear the brown jerseys, the orange pants, and then switch out the face mask to white. And then boom, you have an alternate kind of 80s throwback look that you could throw out there every once in a while. And I think that would be cool. I think a lot of the fan base would like that. As far as other helmets, look, the Bengals could have that white stripe helmet. There's other teams out here that could do some great things with these helmet switch ups that I'm looking forward to see. I think Tampa Bay's been the one that's talked about the most. But I'm happy to see, with the number rule and, lightening up on some of these helmets, that we're bringing back some of the fun stuff. Just bring it back to football, right? Let this game be fun. Let it be visually interesting and varied. This is a good thing for football. It makes the product a lot more unpredictable when it comes to just visually how it looks. And it's just a fun thing, right? Like when the Browns are going to wear their alternate jerseys or they pop out the orange pants randomly for a big game, like it adds some excitement and fun to the game. When we see these guys in single digit numbers, like if Derrick Henry ever goes to number 2, it's going to be just fun to see him back in number 2. It's small stuff, admittedly, but it's just fun stuff, right? The touchdown celebrations, the end zone cameras, all this stuff. It makes the game fun. It's nice to see that they're bringing back more fun stuff to the NFL. It's a nice change of pace, and I'm glad they're doing it. The next question comes from Sheldon, who says, what do you think Donovan Peoples-Jones' ceiling is? This is a very good question. And I don't know if I have a very good answer for it yet. I really have to think. But you look at his length, you look at his size, and you look at his relatively decent speed, and you think, man, this guy could be, at best, similar to like an AJ Green or something like that. They have very similar athletic profiles. Not saying he's AJ Green, right? AJ Green has some intangibles about him that make him much better. But I do think you could get, something close to an AJ Green, or maybe like an AJ Brown, somebody who's not the most explosive athlete, but a good enough athlete, somebody who's not the biggest wide receiver, but big enough and plays big. I think he has that kind of potential, and he has really great catchability. Sometimes he had focus drops in Michigan. Now, they didn't pop up that much in the NFL last year, but he didn't get enough targets to really know. So I hope if his targets increase, that doesn't become kind of something. Then we're all going to just start calling him Braylon Edwards because he went to Michigan. And we know Braylon Edwards dropped the ball a ton. But I do think, best case scenario, he could be something like a A.J. Green or A.J. Brown, one of them AJs, right? DPJ AJ, something like that. But yeah, that's why I think his potential is. I'm going to think about that one, though, and see if I can come up with a better one than I did off the top of my head. The next question comes from Norman, who says, hey, Q, what defensive alignment do you think the Browns can use effectively to limit Lamar Jackson? Somebody asked me a nerdy question. All right, I'm going to try to make sure I don't go on this rant too long, but thank you for this question. This is a great question. I think that the Browns could do some interesting stuff. Now, if you look at what the Chargers did, right, in Lamar's rookie year to kind of limit the effectiveness of that, and this is where everybody's talking about, you could tell how they're going to run or where they're going to run or how they line up and all that jazz. It really wasn't about that. It was about how the San Diego Chargers or the LA Chargers, wherever they were able to kind of line up and be versatile and kind of play off of whatever Lamar's going to do to make sure that it doesn't tear a hole in the defense. And one of those things was they can have all these DBs technically out on the field, even though they have linebackers. And the Browns are in a position where you could have a similar situation if you go into a nickel package with a sub linebacker and have that sub linebacker be John Johnson, put JOK out there opposite of him. So now you have two guys who can move around like defensive backs, very athletic guys, but also physical and strong enough that they can play the run, so you're not being gashed there. And then you can have Grant Delpit, who offers some good size at the free safety position, Ronnie Harrison, who's a kind of another hybrid linebacker that you could do some interesting things when it comes to cover one with. And then you can also play the outside with the extra corner, have Troy Hill out there with Greg Newsome, with Denzel Ward, and all of a sudden you have a very athletic back end that can swivel with the read option, but also you have Myles Garrett up front still, you have Jadeveon Clowney up front still, and whoever the two guys are you're going to want in the middle of that, you can have there. It's just a very athletic defense. I mean, when you have a situation to where, only 9 of the 11 guys on the field can run sideline to sideline at sub 4.6 speed, then you're in a position to do good things against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Now, this is all hypothetical at this point, but I would love to see them try that theory out. Next question comes from CJ, who says, is the D-tackle room one of the more interesting camp battles? What is your early depth chart for them, and who makes the team in practice squad? I can't give you the depth chart or the practice squad or who makes the team, because this is going to be unpredictable. Malik McDowell could start on this team if everything shakes right for him, right? Same thing with Marvin Wilson, right? He could start on this team or get starter type snaps. It's really unpredictable. You have a lot of unproven pieces kind of battling for different spots. I think they want to see something out of Jordan Elliott. They want to see something out of Tommy Togiai to kind of justify releasing Sheldon Richardson. So it's going to be an interesting and wacky battle there. The next question comes from Ruck, who says, who do you think will get their extension first? Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson? Love your channel, watch it every day. Appreciate that. I think this is going to be the order in which things get done. Baker Mayfield's going to sign his extension first. I think the way things are going, Baker's going to sign it first. Lamar Jackson's going to come and reset the market, or at least get more than Baker Mayfield right after Baker Mayfield signs. I think they're kind of waiting for one of these dominoes to fall. I think Josh Allen is going to sign last and sign for the most money. I think if I was Josh Allen, you're going to use this offseason right here to capitalize on all of the hype you got from last season, right? People aren't going to ask, even though I do think they should ask the same questions that you would ask for Lamar or Baker Mayfield about Josh Allen, right? I think people are more sold and there's more hype on him. So people aren't going to ask, was one last year really just kind of a peak for him, or is that a peak into what he's going to be? Was that an aberration? Like, I don't think people are asking enough questions about Josh Allen. And typically when you have a situation like that, that's when somebody comes out and surprises you and has like the biggest contract of a group of quarterbacks that you weren't expecting. So I think that's probably how that's going to shake out. The next question is going to come from Sean, who says, is Baker getting an extension this year? If so, how much and how long? I mean, it's probably going to be like a 5-year extension, right? How much? Hey, look, let me tell you, if the Browns can get that number under $35 million, they won. That's you make that sign right away. I don't care what anybody else is telling you. You can get that under $35 million. You do it. You do it right there. So it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be probably between 30, 35 million is what I think the reasonable number is. If it's anything lower than 30, you run to the bank, you make sure that contract is notarized, and you stamp it, sign it, seal it, deliver it, write it in cash, because you just got it still under 30. So yeah, I think it's going to happen pretty soon. It seems like it's going to happen similarly to Myles Garrett, how it happened right before training camp. But yeah, I do expect this to get done relatively soon. But again, thank you for the question. And again, guys, thank you guys for asking the questions. And again, guys, have a great day. Have a good night.